Genevieve Bellevue Pelletier, psychologist and associate professor at the
We just lost any francophone listeners that we had have now exited the chat.
We definitely don't have any.
I really don't think we have. I don't think we have any. All right. This is we don't usually do this. This is a trigger warning. Right off the bat. Actually, it's not really a trigger warning. It's a NSFW warning. So the reason I'm saying this is because I kind of want to save our own asses. So if you are listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and you are at work right now, make sure you have headphones on. If you are listening to the podcast on one of those platforms and there are family members around, put those headphones on. And if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you're against a wall to your back and you're in a corner and no one else can see your screen. With that, let's go into this very interesting lane that I found today. Hit it, Bri.
And check this into your arm. It's gonna go right through your bloodstream into your veins. That's it. That's all it is.
Oh, that looks sticky.
Wanna put some in your mouth?
Listen.
Let it droop on your tongue. Everybody loves the cum vaccination.
Okay.
Everybody loves the cum vaccination.
Dude, you know what's really funny? It just tickles me pink how the porn industry just piggybacks onto like pop culture and just starts producing porn versions of anything that's going on in the world that's popular.
I just want to say that, Jer, you set that up by saying, this is something that I just stumbled across today. Like, where did you stumble across that?
Jer's own very personal, interesting lane on Pornhub.
Hey, look, man, I'm alone in this apartment in Toronto. I got to find things to do.
Hashtag medporn.
Hashtag medporn. Hashtag COVID porn. Hashtag cum vaccination.
Yeah. And what's great about it is you can inject yourself. you have the means of production.
Yeah.
We all do.
I'm getting ready to come home and inject some other folks. So, listen, the reason I brought this up was because, God, we are really pushing the limits on what we are capable of doing on this platform. Okay, so having said that, the reason I brought this up, and actually, Taylor, to your point, yes, the porno industry does do this, and this is what this entire article is all about. So this came from Motherboard. Love the folks over at Motherboard. They're always putting out good shit.
Oh, this was a segue.
This was a segue, yeah. So, no, this is actually from said article. COVID porn has a new theme, getting jabbed. So that clip was originally meant to be a simple cum-eating instructional, and technically it still is. But considering a rise in discourse around the COVID-19 vaccines, as the unvaccinated fill up hospitals and conspiracy theories continue to spread, she gave the scene an inoculation twist. That was Portia. What was her name? Portia.
Let's bring her back up real quick.
Yeah, let's just watch it one more time. Portia
Parker.
You know what? This is okay. Fine, you can.
But no, we don't need to watch it through again. You've watched this like 14 times today already, for sure.
So Portia Parker, she was quoted saying, "I wanted to tie in the nurse outfit with something, so why not try something different and have them injected with cum?" She told Motherboard. In March 2020. Days before the pandemic was even declared a pandemic, coronavirus-themed porn was going viral, with performers incorporating surgical masks, clean suits, and apocalyptic vibes into their content. It was all anyone could talk about. Might as well make some porn out of it. And in the early days of the vaccine rollout, getting vaccinated could get you laid. People cruising Tinder and Bumble added Vax for Vax, and OkCupid added vaccination statuses to their matching questionnaire. 18 months later, we are still struggling with low vaccination rates, and whether mandating vaccines could stop deadly variants like Delta from sending us back into lockdown, porn, always a cutting-edge social barometer, has turned another bleak cultural moment into boner fuel.
Oh, dude, who doesn't love boner fuel?
With titles like, "Is your sperm a COVID-19 vaccine, boss?" And, and hold on. And this one's my favorite. And this is all caps. Lockdown. The coronavirus vaccine is in the ass.
As opposed to, wait, what's that a play on? Is that a play on air? Is ass subbed in for air?
No, I think it's just that if you want the vaccine, you got to go searching for it in that ass.
Okay.
In the ass.
Oh, I feel you now.
You feel me now?
Hey, desperate times call for desperate measures.
That's right. Time to go
Right?
splunking. Oh God. Let's
Taylor had
go.
that she.
Many of these aren't actually about needle play or medical fetishes. The prick usually is attached to the dude, and the serum is semen. Everything else is up to your imagination. Some, however, are about getting or fantasizing about getting literally jabbed. Medical fetishism encompasses a wide range of kinks and yens. One could be turned on by latex gloves, catheters, clamps, stethoscopes, anything you'd find at a hospital. Even with just a nurse uniform, medical fetish can cross over into whatever you want. As a plot point and film genre itself, Laura Helen Marks, porn scholar and professor of English at Tulane University and author of Alice in Pornland, sees similarities between vax themes and horror. This might be an interesting guest to have on the show for a fun RC episode.
Can you just say what her title was?
So I know. How fucking good is
Just
that
say that
title,
again.
Riggs?
Yeah.
A porn scholar and professor of English at Tulane University.
And author of that.
And author of Alice in Pornland, which, sounds great.
I think
So
we've got
she-
a lot of porn scholars, maybe even in this room.
That's,
Definitely in the audience.
Definitely in the virtual space.
I don't want to
In the much more real, much more safe virtual space.
She was quoted saying, in terms of porn that dabbles in themes of disease, viruses, vaccinations, antidotes, and the like, these themes are grappled with quite directly in vampire and zombie porn, she said. There is no surprise, as mainstream media uses the same narratives to deal with those themes. Vampires and zombies are the result of a virus or contagious disease. In Beyond Fucked, a Zombie Odyssey, directed by Tommy Pistol in 2013, humans trying to survive the plague that's turning people into the undead test each other before sex. They also have to prove that they're clean before they can enter clubs. In The Walking Dead, a hardcore parody directed by one of my favorites and past guest of Turn Me On, Joanna Angel, also directed and premiered in 2013, humans fuck zombies and zombies crave semen, but cum is a kind of antidote / silver bullet. Closer to the naughty mad scientist genre of a lot of vaccination porn today, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde parodies also deal with themes of the desire to fuck around, but also the hesitancy and fear of contamination. As Marx puts it, where mystery potions and antidotes come into play. She was quoted saying, as far as the current pandemic is concerned, the obvious erotic aspects are vaccination. Vaccination equals the ability to fuck around again and hook up at will. Marx said, but I think there's more to it than that. Considering the stuff outlined above, I imagine a lot of the erotic tension in vaccination porn is that pleasure of being nasty. As a medical fetish, COVID porn and vaccination porn are a subset, as a subset, is building on a large history of the adult industry's handling of personal and community health. I thought this was really interesting, this take here. In the real world and as well on set. So in March 2020, the Free Speech Coalition asked all porn sets to halt production to slow the spread of the virus. So all major studios stopped shooting, at least until California lifted restrictions on mainstream film production in June. But many studios didn't reopen until well after that as a matter of safety. They've been implementing test and trace programs for decades. Performers have to show documentation of negative STI test results every 2 weeks through the PASS program, or risk losing work, or in the worst case, shutting down all sets if an outbreak seems imminent. Public health experts concede that most workplaces could learn something from the adult industry's handling of COVID. When the devastatingly rampant disease they were battling was HIV, producers tried to make safe sex sexy. Mm-hmm. So that was just a little interesting kind of take that I thought would be fun to start this week's Feel Good Friday is how, the porn industry, this place that is racked with stigma, is actually one of the industries of work that is actually like doing a really good job at managing and considering like the issues when it comes to public health.
Yeah, what you're saying is that they should be advising on public health policy. Like they should be like public health policy consultants.
Hey, there's a reason we call them Daddy Strang.
Yeah, you guys know that when I was in the hospital, they wanted to give me a catheter. It was the best course of action. But I had such a raging erection every time they said catheter that they couldn't put it in because
I feel like
swells.
it would be easier, no?
No, because it swells. It swells and there's not enough space.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Because but now that I know that my community is out there, I'm gonna go and find them.
I saw an interesting sort of like you mentioned like how they're sort of becoming this sort of like shining example of how we should be responding to COVID-19, especially in the way that they create preventative measures in the workplace. I got a retainer today. It's really hard to talk.
He's working his way through it, everybody.
But I saw
make those little sound.
I saw this. I have to wear my retainer for 24 hours a day for a week, and then
but he's done his Invisalign. Everybody, round of applause for Brian.
And then I will only wear this at nighttime.
So hold on. Sorry,
I had a point that I was going to make. Yeah, I'm done.
I know, but you're done your Invisalign.
Yeah.
How the fuck? You were on it for what, like 6 months?
About 9 months.
That's all it took?
Yeah, 9 months goes by surprisingly fast, you guys.
And this isn't even like we're not getting paid for that.
Wow.
No money.
Hey, huge shout out to Paradigm Orthodontics that did my Invisalign. They actually told me if I mentioned them on the podcast, they would give me my Invisalign for free.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
I have a shout out I'd like to make.
Free now.
Shout out to Wayne Sankey. Shout out to Wayne Sankey, father of our one and only Low Sankey. He came to town. We went for a bike ride, made him sweat, obviously.
Wayne Skanky.
Got this Latini's bicycle repair shop t-shirt that he gave to me. He gave one to Brian too.
That's sweet. Yeah.
Jared got some Buckies.
Yep. Thank you very much.
I got some treats.
Thank you, Wayne. You've done a very wonderful
job.
So
the point that I wanted to make though is that this reminded me of another group of people who are a shining example of things to do during COVID-19, which is get vaccinated. Did you see that the LGBTQ plus 2S plus community is like 96% vaccinated? 92% vaccinated, first dose.
Fucking responsible group, man.
Can
we get some of that?
I saw this on Instagram.
I don't even know what I mean by we when I say that. I'm like,
somebody posted
everybody else.
Some advocacy group posted an image of that on Instagram, and it was a slider, and you could see the different data sets and where this data is coming from. And one of the things when I read through the comments, everybody was like, "Yeah, like no fucking kidding. We know what it's like to be in a pandemic." And they were referencing HIV, like many comments referencing HIV, and they're like, "When there is something that can protect you, fucking do it."
Yeah, right.
And it made so much sense.
Yeah.
I need to take my retainer.
That's really interesting.
It made so much sense.
I think you sound weirder than you do.
I hear it in my headphones.
Yeah, you don't. I can't even tell.
Okay, sweet.
I can't either, but can you just say huge one more time, bro?
Huge.
Oh, I heard that. I heard that one.
Well, speaking of huge, here's a huge fucking problem. We're gonna make a shit sandwich on this week's episode. The bread's good, but here's the shit on the inside. This article really bummed me out, and it's from here in Nova Scotia. So this was from Global News. Man with diabetes dies in NS emergency room lobby while waiting for care.
Fuck, I saw this. Yeah.
A father, a grandfather, a great grandfather, a lover of life, a master of one-liners, and a caring husband of 58 years. Keith Harker of Bedford, Nova Scotia, which is the town right next to where I grew up, was all of those things and many more, according to his widow, Simone Harker. Quote, I found out after he passed away how much he was loved because everyone's comments were how wonderful of a man he was, she said. He was really, really a wonderful man. Keith died in late July, sitting in a wheelchair in the lobby of the Cobequid Community Health Center emergency room, waiting to receive care. He was 78. She says, Simone says, I relive it all the time, Simone said of that fateful day on July 22nd. So Keith had diabetes for nearly 40 years. And the night before he died, he hadn't been feeling well, and his sugars had been really high recently. He had an appointment to see a doctor on the following Monday. He was still well enough to see some friends on the evening of July 21st, and it was a very different story the next day. So that morning, quote, that morning he couldn't even sit up in bed, Simone recalled. With the help of 2 family members, they were able to get him to a wheelchair and take him to the emergency department at the Cobequid Community Health Center in Sackville, my hometown. Quote, she said, I looked in there and it was packed. Super typical for, Nova Scotia emergency room. It was about 9:30 in the morning when they arrived. Cobequid's always a fucking shit show too.
Yeah.
It was about 9:30 in the morning when they arrived. Her husband had vomited into a bucket that they brought, and later a bag provided by hospital staff. They waited for about 2 hours for him to be triaged.
Oh,
so 2 hours for him to even get triaged. He's in there. He's vomiting. When they tested his blood pressure, sugars, and ketones were all very high. Sitting at a second triage window, he was still vomiting, but what was coming out at this point had turned white.
Whoa.
Quote, then all of a sudden, his head went down, Simone said, dropping her own head forward to demonstrate. Quote, and I lifted his mask, and he was frothing at the mouth, and his skin started to change colors immediately, and I screamed. Hospital staff rushed out and spent a half hour trying to resuscitate him, but at that point, it was too late. He was gone, she said. Simone said that as they waited, she tried to explain to the hospital staff how quickly her husband's health had taken a turn, and even pleaded with a paramedic who was there to see if they could take him in an ambulance to another hospital. That paramedic said, quote, he's going to have to wait somewhere. He might as well wait here. She was clear that she did not blame the hospital staff, who seemed overworked and appeared to be doing their best in the crowded ER, but she questioned how the triaging system worked and said her husband should have been seen much sooner. Quote, when I looked around the room, there were so many people. Some of them were laughing and joking and sitting, she said, adding that a girl who appeared to have sprained ankle was before them in line. Quote, I'm thinking there has to be some serious illnesses here. Why are they just going as they come? Simone said it was difficult for her to come forward with her story, but after hearing about people who have gone through similar things, like Anne McPhee, whose husband died after waiting 40 minutes for an ambulance, she feels like she has to speak out. There's more to this. I'm going to continue it, but there's obviously the system's fucking fucked, obviously, and I don't know if this is like a countrywide thing or if it's more so in Nova Scotia, because a lot of these stories that are coming out, like Anne McPhee's and like Simone's, we're hearing like there was another story that
the gentleman who had to wait in his driveway
3 hours
for an ambulance that was coming from like a 2.5 hour drive away that came
from the
to get him
South Shore
from Parksboro. Yeah.
There's a huge shortage.
He had a broken hip, and he was laying in his driveway for 3 hours waiting for an ambulance and he was in Dartmouth, so that's where we live. So for context for folks that don't know Nova Scotia, we live in Halifax and Dartmouth, right? Parksboro is a 3 hour drive away. This ambulance that was coming to give him service was dispatched from Parksboro, 3 hours away.
That's fucking crazy.
He was sitting in his driveway with police and firefighters. And I don't have this story up, but I read this story earlier today. Its protocol is to not inform the public nor other emergency response teams where an ambulance is being dispatched from, which makes no fucking sense to me at all. And so the cops had no idea where this ambulance was. 3 hours later, a police officer was like, fuck this shit. And he picked up this gentleman, put him in his car, and drove him 5 minutes to the nearest hospispittal. Okay, so that's the situation.
Did you say he broke his hip?
Yeah.
I mean, so that like...
elderly gentleman. He was an older man laying in his driveway.
Broke his hip.
On a fucking hot day, broke hip. Yeah.
When I broke my hip, there was such a rush to, I mean, they were very careful before I was put in the ambulance, but there was such a rush and such a concern because, and I didn't know this until after, but when you break your pelvis, when you break your hip, there's a really high chance of because of the proximity to all your organs that there's like really serious internal bleeding and you could die.
Wow.
You could die very quickly.
That's crazy.
So kind of tying in the idea that they're not allowed to know where that's being dispatched from because I'm sure that firefighters, I know that firefighters and police officers have a pretty high level of
communication between
just like training,
training,
like first aid training,
first responders.
So that would probably be something that a police officer or a firefighter would know as well. And if they had the information that ambulance was coming from so far away, they probably they would have made that decision to bring that guy in so much sooner with the knowledge that, hey, this person has an injury that could very likely come with serious internal bleeding, which he could die from very, very soon.
So, but on the other hand, though, like that still might be the kind of injury that you wouldn't want to move someone if you weren't aware of the extent of the injury without, or you wouldn't want to move them without special equipment or doing some type of. But that's the thing is it's hard to make that
and then you're weighing,
calculation. Like if they knew it's going to take 3 hours for this ambulance to come from Parsbro, then that risk calculation would have been very different.
That's the other thing. Have you guys ever had the experience when you're waiting for like someone to come and pick you up or some like an event to start and you just feel like oh, here's a good example when you're waiting on fucking hold
booster juice
when you're waiting for your booster juice to come when you're waiting on hold and like the first 10 minutes goes by and you're like, what the fuck, why am I waiting so long? And then like you look at the time that you've been on the phone again, you're like, what the fuck, it's been 20 minutes. And then you look again and it's like, what the fuck, it's been an hour and a half. And time, like you keep thinking like
it couldn't
it's been so long
be any longer.
It couldn't possibly be any longer. And so like I just imagine them sitting there going, well, it's been 30 minutes, they must be here any minute now. And then the next thing 3 hours is
after 3 hours I'm sure the cop is like, I don't want to fucking be here anymore, like
no kidding.
I'm sure this old man who's in fucking pain doesn't either, like fuck this shit, let's get out of here,
I'd be interested to know what hospitals how or if hospitals and like different sectors of healthcare that need doctors trained in specific fields, like how they or if they communicate with med schools to try to promote where med schools are like, this area of medicine is something like ER medicine is where like we need ER docs, especially in, XYZ city, region, whatever. Because I wonder if they communicate in that way with med schools, because when you see that, I know it's not just the doctors, it's the nurses and it's all the administration and all that stuff that comes together to work. But if they're just having people waiting, not only, I've been to 3, 4, 5 hour waits in the emergency room, but even on top of that, 2 hours before you even see somebody who assesses how serious your situation is. Yeah. I mean, you're showing up to the emergency room and you're not even able to tell the person that you might die soon, or that you're not even able to tell that person yet how dire your situation is. Well, it's for them to see you.
When we were having the conversation that we recorded on our YouTube shorts the other day about why the USA sucks at healthcare, the report that came out has 5 different categories that countries are being ranked under. And, the thing that we were only realizing while we were talking about why the USA sucks is that Canada actually
really
sucks too. And out of the 11 countries that were profiled or ranked in the report, Canada was 10th, and in access to care, we were 10th in that category specifically too. So the only country performing worse was the United States. And frankly, like that's probably one of the reasons why. I mean, it just seems like we're not spending our money effectively enough, but also it feels like the whole healthcare system is underfunded as well.
Yeah, and can I like anecdotally, like my experience, because I grew up in the United States and I had really sweet like medical insurance because my dad has a really good job and like really great insurance package. So I like the US is really asymmetrical because like if you were like my family and like privileged, you could access it. Like I never had to wait, or it would just be like, oh, we'll just make an appointment. Or if I wasn't feeling or needed any sort of attention, no worries. Like I never waited very long in Emerge. I can't remember waiting very long even then. And then like my experience coming to Canada has been like, I don't know, so much different and like not great. But then at the same time, like I don't pay for any of it. And I you know,
that was the difference in the report was that the barrier to access in the US was largely cost driven.
Yeah.
And the barrier to access in Canada is like wait times.
Capacity.
Like, you know, like the amount of time that you have to wait in Canada to get care might be just as much of a deterrent as the cost that somebody in the US might have to face going to, you know what I mean? Like, viewed as the same, like, I'm not going to go because it's going to cost so much. And somebody in Canada is thinking, I'm not going to go because I'm going to have to wait for 6 hours. And like, if that happens in the middle of the night and you got to get up and go to work the next morning, and you know, whatever your financial situation is, you can't do that. You can't miss work. Like there's so many waiting. I mean, you got to make that calculation. I've gone to the emergency room overnight and been like, I can only wait here for so long, or I can only not get so many hours of sleep.
And not even just Emerge, like even trying to get into your family doctor can be a gong show and so hard to try to arrange. Whereas like when I grew up, if I like wanted to see my family doctor for whatever, it would just like, it would be easy. Oh yeah, let's book a time. How about like tomorrow at 2 p.m. Cool. See you then.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So the article goes on to say, in a statement, Nova Scotia Health spokesperson Brandon Elliott said the hospital uses the Canadian triage and acuity scale, where patients presenting at the emergency room are assigned a triage level between 1 and 5, from most serious to least serious. He was quoted saying, "It is important to note that the initial intake of a patient at the admitting station does not necessarily reflect the order in which they will receive care. Someone could arrive with an arm injury and be admitted first, but would not be seen by a healthcare professional until all other more serious patients are screened," he said. Quote, "Occasionally, lower acuity patients are seen before higher acuity patients, depending on the availability of appropriate care areas. For example, the person with an injured arm might be seen in an available chair in the hallway, while a higher acuity patient with abdominal pain may need to wait for a bed to become available." He said, and this is the fucking quote. This is the quote that makes me so annoyed by all of this. He said, "There is no way for people who need immediate care to get moved up in line to be triaged." Quote, "There is no process to triage who gets triaged first," he said. "First come, first served at the triage desk to determine who actually gets treated first." And the reason why that fucking annoys me is that it's such a fucking cop-out. It's like, well, you know what? It's not possible. There's no way that we can find another system that works better than the system that we have. And that's, to me, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
You're saying there's no way because you haven't, look, I'm going to say this and please, listeners, if you're out there and you have, because I don't know anything, but if you know more than I do, please let me know, like correct me here. But I feel like you're just saying that because you haven't fucking thought of a better way.
Obviously, dude, it's a PR response to something that happened within the last 24 hours. How could he possibly, and he's not the person who's tasked with coming up with the solution to that. He's the messenger. And the fact is that like, how could you possibly know that there's no way? Because you haven't even had enough time to think about it. Yeah. And like that to me, that's just a mindset. And that mindset, if adopted by enough people, is the hard. That's the root of the problem. Is that there will always forever be a lack of innovation if people don't think that there's anything that can be done to solve the problems that exist.
Yeah. You know what? That's a loser's mindset. We need some fucking
more
winners.
We need more winners.
But in a way,
God.
Oh, sorry. What were you going to say, Jerry?
I
was going to say
campaign. I remember.
But that part of the statement is what is wrong. Like, at least we have identified what the problem is. If the problem is that there's no way to triage, then that at least we know that, and then we can work from there towards a solution.
Mm-hmm. Simone said that she wants to see some more creative and effective ways of getting seriously ill patients into the triage level sooner. And with an election, which is actually happening today as we record this, she hopes for major changes from whoever forms the next provincial government. So yeah, a little bit of a bummer of a story there, but important conversation nonetheless. And I do hope that there's like some steps taken, because again, although this has happened to Keith, this isn't the first time that this has happened. This is one of a slew of incidences that have been popping up as of late, and clearly there needs to be some fucking changes. And it's not one of those. It's like I don't look at this and view this as one of those changes that seem so outside our capability that I have that sort of mentality of like, oh man, what a bummer, because like I can't imagine there's any way to fix this.
To be fair though,
it's a fucking
I haven't
fixable situation.
Well, I haven't even thought of it for that long, and I already have the solution, you guys. It's
wow.
And
I want to hear it.
It's funny because I feel like, it's our fault actually, because we've been blaming
Sick Boy's fault, like the podcast.
Yeah, the way that we've been talking about it right now, because we've been blaming the system, and we've been saying that the system needs to be innovative. The system needs to think a little bit more about the problems that exist and really try harder to solve them.
Right.
Be better with the resources, be better with spending money. And it's actually bullshit, because the only thing that needs to happen is that people just need to stop getting so sick.
And we just need to fit into the system better.
Right, because think if we just all tried 1% or 2% harder to get not sick or not injured and not have to use the ER, then
that would actually be a
solution.
1 to 2%. If every single person was 1 to 2% more conscious about their decisions, that would actually,
because I subscribe to the mindset about being change. 1% better, and it's just a series of 1% decisions.
It's definitely not going to stop people from going to the ER, but everyone will be just a touch healthier.
Listen, this is my problem in articulating this idea, because I didn't really get at the root of this. What I really think it is it's about meditation, because I think that if we can sit down and positively, recite these mantras in our head.
Have any of you guys read The Secret?
Yeah, because really, the reason why we're getting so sick is because we just think that we're sick, right?
Moving right along.
It's all in your mind.
But on a more serious note, actually, I feel like
that was serious. What are you talking?
It would be interesting to see, in the future, some sort of a digitized AI based triage before the triage system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you come in, you fucking input some information into a little fucking computer, and then GPT-3 is like, all right, I'm going to spit out my thoughts on what's most important here. And I don't know. I fully believe in AI's capabilities of doing everything and anything better than we ever fucking could. So
I would say, so I'm assuming I don't know this. I'm assuming a triage nurse isn't specifically a triage nurse. They might do that task, but it's not. You're not trained to be specifically a triage nurse, are you?
That's right.
No, I don't think so. I think it's if you're a nurse, then you can be put on triage, but also
right.
Yeah.
So this would be an incredible way.
There's training that goes into it for sure.
No, of course.
Yeah, 'cause I was gonna say.
But this would be an incredible example of where AI could come in, take a very burdensome human task, take the burden off of the human who could be doing other things to move the whole process along, and have AI do triage.
There's
a company out there who's doing that.
The other thing though is the thing that makes that hard though is that part of being a triage nurse is about looking at the scene that's happening in front of you and sort of reading between the lines on some of the things that are said too, because, like we say on the podcast all the time, like we're always telling people to go in and say that your pain is a 10 because like,
dude, you are always doing that.
You got to be the first one in.
The hack guy.
Right.
I just go in and I just go in and say, hey, I'm the host of Sick Boy Podcast. And they go, get this motherfucker in right now. And
ultimate hospital hack.
You know what's really funny is that's not that untrue. Look, let's move right along into something a little bit more fun. Listen, guys. So this came up in our Discord. We have so many lovely patrons, and one of our patrons dropped an article that I had actually read earlier that day before they put it on our Discord. And we had this very lovely conversation that transpired around this one particular article that was about our buddy, Steph Strecko. Steph he has cystic fibrosis like myself. He had gotten approved to get Trikafta. I hope it's okay that I'm saying this, Steph, if you're listening. I didn't even ask you about whatever. It's in the fucking news, so... and it was a CBC article.
We're making inferences that make a whole lot of sense.
yeah, and also it's a CBC article, so we're actually like inclined to. I didn't have any. This is the one CBC article that I included in this week's episode. So
yeah, it's part of the contract. So, we gotta read a CBC article every time.
That's right. They're like, you guys are reading too many global articles. We needed to do more CBC. So
link in the description.
Steph got approved by his insurance company to get Trikafta, and then they reversed their decision because of the $25,000 a month price tag. So anyway, it was a big fucking bummer, and it was one of those things that made me feel a little disheartened in thinking about my future and that drug, and the very real possibility that I might not get my hands on that drug, at least in the near future. And could that potentially mean that I don't get it fast enough? So anyway, having said that, I have a feeling I'm probably going to be dying soon, guys.
And I was going to say, what is a fucking sob story?
Yeah, with that, when I die, if you guys aren't doing this shit at my funeral, then I don't want anyone to be coming to my funeral. Woo! Yeah, fucking pour one out for my homies. Is that not the most baller ass sick celebration? Also, can you play it one more time? Let's just look at what everyone showed up to the funeral wearing. Jeans and t-shirts all around. Oh my God.
Woo! Can we also talk about how that casket is gold?
Yeah, dude. Fuck yeah.
I was just thinking about how like they're pouring all of that fucking alcohol onto that really nice casket, and it's gonna but then it's gonna get buried.
But then it's gonna get buried in the ground forever.
You know what we need to do? We need to set up like a lip to catch all of the running alcohol after, so that we can pour it out, but then also drink it.
Yeah,
because that's a fucking waste.
Like that little bar tray that catches all the excess liquor.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That's my favorite alcohol.
The dregs.
Yeah, so good. So listen. I'm going to go into another video soon here, but before I do, Quebec, the place that I just drove through recently, they, Quebec's taken a really interesting stance on COVID when it comes to regulations from day one. And that is no different in this scenario. Quebec to bar unvaccinated people from non-essential public places. Unvaccinated people in Quebec will be denied access to non-essential public spaces such as bars, restaurants, and gyms as of September 1st. So a couple of weeks away, anyone who is not vaccinated will no longer be able to enter bars, restaurants, gyms, etc. The province's health minister announced this on Tuesday as he revealed details of the most sweeping vaccine passport policy in the country. Health Minister Christian Dubé or Dubé.
You were you had it.
Christian Dubby said at a news conference on Tuesday that Quebecers would need to scan a code on a smartphone application to get into busy public spaces, including festivals and concert venues.
I think that's happening everywhere, man. I think that's going to happen in every place.
They're doing it in Manitoba. They're doing it in Manitoba right now.
So, yeah. There's 2 other provinces that took it on, but it's actually not going to happen everywhere, and we get to that in this article here.
Well, Taylor and I actually talked to an ethicist and philosopher who wrote an op-ed on vaccine passports yesterday, and that episode is coming out in the next couple of weeks. And I
think next week,
bananas.
The people from other provinces and countries will also have to use the system, but employees at these businesses will not face the same vaccination requirements to avoid running afoul of labor laws. The announcement continues Quebec's record of aggressive and controversial responses to the COVID-19 pandemic, which ravaged the province's long-term care sector during the first wave. With its long winter curfew and early decision to delay second doses of the vaccine, Quebec has regularly staked out distinct policy terrain from the rest of the country, sometimes inspired by ideas in Europe. The province will begin to test the passport at a Quebec City sports bar this week, the first of at least 2 pilot projects intended to smooth out technical issues before the formal launch in September. The system will cover all of Quebec, not just hard-hit regions, as the government previously said, in response to rising case counts and the growing prevalence of the more contagious Delta variant of the novel coronavirus. The health minister presented the expansive new policy as a way to prevent another round of lockdowns in a fall resurgence of the virus. Quebec will become the 3rd province in Canada to use a vaccine passport of some kind, after Manitoba and PEI, although Quebec's will be the most comprehensive. Visitors to PEI can apply for a proof of vaccination pass to allow them to enter the province without self-isolating, while residents of Manitoba with proof of 2 shots can attend some larger gatherings such as pro sporting events. Other provinces, such as Florida, aka Alberta, say they have no plans to implement the vaccine passport program. Ontario Health Minister Christine Elliott said on Tuesday that her government will not mandate vaccinations and individual businesses can decide whether to require them for staff or patrons. Genevieve Beaulieu-Pelletier. Genevieve Beaulieu-Pelletier, psychologist and associate professor at the
we just lost any francophone listeners that we had have now exited the chat.
We definitely don't have any.
I really don't think we have. I don't think we have any. A psychologist and associate professor at the Université Quebec Montreal said the passport system could help overcome some vaccine hesitancy by giving hardened opponents an excuse to get their shots while saving face. She was quoted saying, "There are people who don't dare give up their position," she said. "Now they can say they didn't have a choice." I think that, so when I read this, and especially when I read that sentence that said that this is like a pretty controversial and aggressive move, I don't know. I want to get your guys' take because I wasn't there for the conversation that you had yesterday with that gentleman who wrote the op-ed, but I think it's a great idea. Like, I think that it is. I like it.
I don't want to give too much of it away.
But let's talk about it a little bit.
But we'll talk about it a little bit.
The
essence of it is that, and I've kind of since the idea of a vaccine passport has been introduced like months ago, when the vaccine, I guess probably around the time the vaccine was available, like in January, when it first available in January in the States anyway. And the idea of a vaccine passport got tossed around. Like, I could very much see, especially from the US perspective, of how that would, like, I could see upon first thought, it was like, oh, that makes sense. And then upon second thought, I went, oh, and now I see now I see like how people will come up against that. Right. In the essence of our conversation that, with Professor Schaefer from the University of Manitoba, it was basically like the ethics of somebody implementing something onto you by going, you need a vaccine passport, which, by the way, means that your passport, everybody has one, and it either says that you do or you don't have the vaccine. It's not mandating that you get the vaccine. It's mandating that you have a passport that says whether you do or you don't. And then another layer of that is whether that passport is then used to deny you entry into certain places, venues, government regulated places, or all businesses, and things like that. But at the core of it, the ethical argument for it is that you are totally free to make your own choices up until when your choices start to affect the lives and the health of other people. And that is where your personal choices or your freedom starts to get curbed. And if you are making choices that affect and could harm other people, then the quote unquote other people then have the right to curb your freedom. Yeah. And that was the argument.
The thing I find about it is vaccine passports. Like I feel like I'm quite a progressive, socially conscious person. Vaccine passports super bum me out.
Interesting.
The first reason is because it bums me out that we need them, because like in our country there are enough vaccinations to go around and get everybody vaccinated.
Can you imagine March 2020, April 2020, thinking that there would be a fuckload of people that didn't want to get a vaccine to get us out of this mess?
Yeah, I mean, thinking back to then, I didn't think that, but like also it's not hard to imagine what has happened, because, you know, I think this is the world that we live in. But the thing that it bums me out, one, that we have to prove that to one another, that like, you know, the science is in, the vaccine helps save lives. We need to get it. So if, you know, the fact that we need to prove that we've done that when it's accessible and everybody can get it, it just makes me feel sad. I understand the value in the vaccine passport in, you know, say you own a business and you have somebody who's working there who's immunocompromised. You don't want people coming in who aren't vaccinated, who could be, you know, COVID positive, and getting your people sick. But like, it just bums me out that we have to prove it.
It is a total bummer.
The last thing I'll say is, like, I brought this up, and I didn't want to go into this too much, but I brought this up in the conversation with Dr. Schaefer, or Professor Schaefer, that my uncle was homeless and like struggled in the system to get access to public housing, and like him having to prove that he had 2 doses of the vaccine, even if he did, to get into places like drugstores and clinics and grocery stores. It would have been very hard for him to, you know, prove that. Even if he had a card, like, he probably would have fucking lost it. He wouldn't have had it. And then all of a sudden, people who are already marginalized, I feel like it puts them even more at risk. So yeah, it just sucks that they're basically, the reason why we need vaccine passports is because people are fucking idiots.
And I was thinking about this last night, Jer. I was actually laying in bed and I was thinking about something. I went back to something that you had said to me years ago now. I think you asked me if I'd had my flu shot, or we were talking about flu shots or something. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I don't really get the flu shot. And not because I was like, I don't need the flu shot or I don't want the flu shot. I was just like, I just don't,
it's not something I do.
Yeah. I just annually don't get around to it. And then you were like, well, that is bad for me.
That sucks.
Because if you get the flu and then you give it to me and then I, you know, get pneumonia or whatever, like I could get, like, that could kill me. And it's like, and while people are walking around out there and I hate it, because I hate that probably no one listening to the show thinks that we're wrong about like when we talk about the vaccine.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we're reaching people who think that the vaccine is shitty, you know? And I hate, actually, and I don't like that, but it makes me think.
You know what? I want to know though. I want to know if you are listening to this right now and you are you are one of those people that haven't gotten vaccinated yet, you're still vaccine hesitant, or you are just outright refusing, write us letters@sickboypodcast.com.
I would love to know.
And let us know. And not for us to judge you. Not like, I'm not asking you to out yourself so that we can read your response on the show. I mean, we don't even need to read your response on the show. But it would be awesome if we could. But I'm just out of sheer curiosity, out of the, the tens of thousands of listeners that that are showing up every single week. Like, I want to know. There's got to be one. There's got to be at least one.
There's got to be at least one
person out there who's like at least vaccine hesitant to the point where they still haven't gotten it and they're not sure if they're going to. And if that is you, write us letters@sickboypodcast.com and let us know why. I want to hear from you. I'm really curious.
It's interesting. One of the things I was reading another article today about a store locally that put up a sign that was like, if you don't have 2 vaccinations, please only use curbside pickup. Yeah, and the comment section was like rife with people who were like, fuck this business. Like, I'm never going here again. And a lot of the reasons were like COVID-19 infects people who have been vaccinated with 2 doses, and it's just as infectious, when that's not true.
God, I could not be more frustrated by that.
It's not true. The Delta variant can just as easily spread because there's just as much virus in the nose and throat, but that is one variant of the virus too. And so it's just like,
it also doesn't fucking matter,
but there's so much misinformation out there that that is the cause of why people think the way that they do. And then they don't, they hear like a friend of theirs tells them this, and then they don't want to be at odds with their friends because it could jeopardize their relationship.
Man, it's the news, man. Like the lack of understanding that there's a difference between getting COVID and getting sick from COVID, like hospital sick from COVID. Like, man, there's so few people that seem to understand that. And the news sensationalizes it. Like, you see this article that, some senator in the US, got COVID, even though he had both vaccinations. And it's like, yeah, dude, we expect that. That's expected.
No one ever said that if you get the vaccine, you can't get COVID.
It just means you're less likely, but you are extremely unlikely to get sick and go to the hospital and tax the hospital system and take up a bed and take up a ventilator. It's like, that is the fucking portion that we care about. Mm-hmm. The fucking point of this thing is to make it so that no one has to go to the hospital, or very, 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 very few people do. Yeah. And that you can get it and you can fucking stay home and be sick and let it run its course, and you never tax the hospitals. Like, it's so fucking, and not only that, mind-blowing that people don't get it.
It's not only that, it's also about the people like myself, the people like Keith, our friend Keith, from Unlocking Bryson's Brain, like the people who need you to get the fucking vaccine so that us people who are more vulnerable can start to fucking live our lives again. Just like you. Yeah. Just like you, so that we can all come together and live our lives again, right? So it's just like, again, it comes back to this outgroup homogeneity bullshit that just seems to be plaguing all of us in this one particular scenario.
I mean, we could really just solve this if we just, everybody in the morning meditated for 10 minutes and thought about
what I don't understand? Why don't we just
thought about how, like, had a mantra that was like, no more COVID. No,
that's one angle. The other angle that we could take is that if we just did, the planes that they use for chemtrails?
Yes.
Let's just fucking, dude, just put it in the planes.
Just crop
fly the planes, crop dust these motherfuckers. Yeah. And then we'll just, air, like a nasal spray type vaccine. I'm sure they got that cook. It's laying around somewhere.
Well, Bill Gates should be able, there's enough people vaccinated that he should be able to activate the microchip in this, like 60% of people who are double vaxxed to get to then manipulate them to, like,
turn the AI,
be his army,
crank the neural link,
and just take out the rest of the people. Right.
Yeah. Right. So I now want to play this video, and this is going out to all the people who are refusing outright to get the vaccine. Just listen to everyone's favorite action hero, because he has some choice words for you.
But I think people should know there is a virus here. It kills people. And the only way we prevent it is to get vaccinated, to wear masks, to do social distancing, washing your hands all the time, and not just to think about, well, my freedom is being kind of disturbed here. No, screw your freedom, because with freedom comes obligations and kind of responsibilities. We cannot just say, I have the right to do X, Y, and Z. When you affect other people, that is when it gets serious. It's like no different than a traffic light. We put a traffic light at an intersection so someone doesn't kill someone else by accident. So this is why we have a traffic light. You cannot say, no one is going to tell me that I'm going to stop here, that I have to stop at this traffic light here. I'm going to go right through it. Yeah, then you kill someone else, and then it is your doing. So this is the same thing with the virus. You cannot go and not put a mask on, because when you breathe, you can infect someone else, and you can infect someone that then gets sick and may die. So this is why I think we all have to work together on this. The only way we can lick this virus is, again, if we do like I suggested earlier about politics, we have to come together rather than fighting and always just saying, this, according to my principles, this is a free country and I'm going to have the freedom to wear no mask. Yeah, you have the freedom to wear no mask, but you know something? You're a schmuck for not wearing a mask because you're not supposed to protect your fellow members around you. It's just that simple. So this is the way I feel about it. And that's why I am out there and talking about it and tweeting out about it and doing videos and all this kind of stuff, because I want people to understand. I don't want to villainize anyone here, but I just want to tell everyone, let's work together and let's stop fighting, because there is a virus and it's better to get vaccinated and to wear a mask.
Yeah, you're a schmuck for not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Dude.
You're a schmuck.
Your freedom.
Dude. And I love that. I love that. And there's a section in that video earlier where he's like, what you know how many people are the amount of people in the world right now that are like, that think that, you know, XYZ about what has been going on, like, isn't happening, or it's not happening to the same degree, like hospital beds aren't full or whatever the fuck, you know, and it's like, and they're like, I'll send you the art. I'll send you the study. And you're like, dude, fuck off with your study, dude. The study doesn't exist, or it's done by some fucking kid in his basement. And you're like, and there's a part earlier in that where he's like, you want to know how to build a big bicep? I'll show you. You come to me. I'll show you the bicep. You want to know how to stay safe from a virus? You go to the epidemiologist. So he's like, I'll show you how to make the peak.
I do fucking love every time he chimes in. He, say what you will about Arnold Schwarzenegger, but goddamn, it's so fun to watch him give a message. Listen, folks, we do not this week have a What the Health segment. And the reason for that is that I want to put out a call to action to all you listeners. We've been having a lot of fun with the What the Health segments. It's always an exciting piece. And last week's What the Health actually came from one of our patrons during a live stream of our Feel Good Friday episode, which was live streamed to our patrons, which is something that we are starting to do, and we're having a lot of fun with it. So if you come across an article, or you come across some sort of case study, or you come across some wild medical fucking fuckery, send it to us, letters@sickboypodcast.com. We would love to get some suggestions from you.
The gnarlier the better.
Because the gnarlier the better. And include links if there's photos, videos that come with it, send that to us as well. Especially if like those things don't exist, but it's like a What the Health that's very personal to you, and you have those photos and you have those videos, send that shit to us.
Again, gnarlier the better.
Ruin our day.
Yeah,
fuck me up.
That's our jam.
So with that, thank you all so much for tuning in this week. We have so much fun with these Feel Good Friday episodes. We are so glad that you have been joining us on this little journey since COVID started. That's where this all began, these Feel Good Friday episodes. If you've been listening on Apple Podcasts, we love you. Thank you for that. You can leave a rating and review there. If you're listening on Spotify, hit that follow button for sure. And if you are one of the folks that are tuning in via YouTube, leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts about anything and everything. And of course, subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you know when these videos are coming up. But not just these videos, also our Sick Boy Shorts, which Taylor and Brian have been doing really, really great job with pumping those out. And looking forward to be a part of more of those in the future. Just love that the folks that are here on YouTube are enjoying this because we have a lot of fun inviting you into the studio so that you can hang out with us and see us and kind of pretend like you're on the other side of the camera.
Yeah, what you see is what you get.
It's what you see is what you get.
I'm raw. And Jerry mentioned it. I think I just called you. I think I am raw. I'm raw dog, and I thought I'll show
you raw when I come home.
I'll show you raw. I'll show you raw dog.
Actually, you know what? Where I will show you raw dog in it is at Rich's show. Rich O'Coin, who does the theme music for our Feel Good Friday episodes and for our routine checkup episodes, is doing a show at the Shore Club. I think there might be one table left. And it is, if you've never seen Rich O'Coin perform,
it's an experience.
It is a fucking experience. And this one is going to be very unique, very fun. It's a movie night, that I'm not going to say any more than that. But it will be a movie night.
No spoilers.
Rich is catering for us. That will be, his music set to some classic, wonderful, scenes from films. The Shore Club is a location here in Nova Scotia, and it is on the South Shore down by Hubbard's Beach. If you've never been to the Shore Club, it is fucking phenomenal. Such a beautiful spot. Rich has been doing shows there for the last 2 years. It's become a bit of a tradition for myself and my partner to go down and have a good time. And so
all that is to say
check it out
is that
tickets still available.
We sure will be there.
Wow. Hey,
that was really great. That was really
great.
Jared mentioned it early in the episode. If you want to tell us about why you don't want to get vaccinated, then let us know at letters@sickboypodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you. And even though we do talk a lot of shit about people who don't want to get vaccinated, if you've got a good argument for it, then fuck, let us know. I'm always down to hear the other side of the argument on pretty much everything, and I'll try my best to meet you halfway.
And not on this one.
Yeah, it's tough on. It's
tough. We want to hear it.
It's tough on this. It's tough on this one.
Here, but we're not going to meet you there.
It's tough on this one. But if you've got a really compelling argument, I mean, if you're not doing it, then you've got something you believe in. So tell us what you believe in. As long as it doesn't have to do with Bill Gates or microchips, then I'll consider it. You can do that again. letters@sickboypodcast.com. And if you want to be a guest on the show, you can go to sickboypodcast.com/contact. Fill out the guest form, and maybe we'll have you on the show.
Lo, I know that you don't have any letters, but you had some comments you want to hit.
Yeah. So as we've mentioned, we have in addition to this episode, we have some other Sick Boy shorts for you to check out. And so I just wanted to show some love to the folks that are in the comments section, leaving us the nicest, sweetest comments on these. Such as Leanne, who left a comment on the "Why does the USA suck at healthcare" video, which you guys should check out. Wherein, as was alluded to earlier, I'm in the middle of booking someone that'll come and talk more about that. Nice. So if you're curious, in the meantime, check this out. It's super interesting. But anyway, Leanne wrote, first of all, love these after hours chats. Secondly, how the heck do you guys have time for other work when so much time and effort clearly goes into Sick Boy? Amazing. Much appreciated. Thank you so much for that, Leanne.
Honestly, where does the time come from? I don't know. I feel like every day there is no time.
It's 8 o'clock at night. Well, it's currently 8 o'clock at night right now, and I have to go home and do 5 hours of.
Yeah, I feel like I wake up and then the day is done, and then I also simultaneously feel like I've done nothing.
The thing about it, Leanne, is that time's a construct, and we do all those outside videos. We do all those around 3-4 a.m. Mondays to Fridays. So it's we make. Oh shit! Do you guys see that?
Yeah,
lights just flickered. Cool. Fuck.
The other thing is that
is this place fucking haunted? What's going on?
Sleep is overrated. Right?
Yeah, sleep is overrated. Yeah.
There is legitimately a small percentage of the population that just really doesn't need the full 8 hours.
Yeah, Salvador Dali never slept and he was fine.
Okay, huge thank you to the people who make this show happen. Lauren Sankey, you're the best. Taylor McGilvery, I love you. Jeremy Saunders, I love you. And Rich O'Coin, thanks again for the theme music. see you at the Shore Club for sure. And Jeff Lonis, thanks for being our manager. To everybody else that makes this show happen, thank you so much. And all the listeners, especially the patrons, we love you.
That is it for this week.
I'm Brian.
I'm Taylor.
I'm Lauren.
And I'm Jeremie, and this is Sick Boy.